The cold stars stretched across the sky like silver needles, endless and indifferent. In the dark of space, the Terran fleet drifted silently, small but determined. Commander Alara stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, her eyes fixed on the distant shapes of the approaching Xylar armada. The aliens had ruled countless systems for centuries, crushing any species that dared resist. They expected humanity to kneel, to surrender without a fight. They expected fear, but humanity had never been predictable. Alara remembered the words of the United Terran Council. They think us weak. Let them see our strength. The weight of billions pressed upon her, yet she held herself steady. Every choice, every command would shape the destiny of her people. Every life depended on her courage. A calm, mechanical voice cut through the comms. Humans of Earth, you are surrounded. Submission is advised. Resistance will be met with total annihilation. Ilara's fingers tightened around the console. She drew a deep breath and replied with quiet defiance. We do not submit. We defend. We endure. The Xylar fleet glided forward with cold precision, their enormous ships bristling with weapons capable of tearing planets apart. Compared to them, the Terran ships seemed fragile, almost fragile. But humans had something the Xylars did not: ingenuity, courage, and an unyielding will. Every Terran ship was a masterpiece of adaptation, a blend of technology and clever design born of necessity. As the first alien cruisers entered firing range, the Terran fleet launched their drones. Small, swift, and unpredictable, they darted between the massive enemy ships. Explosions flared like lightning in the void, illuminating the bravery of humanity. No panic stirred among the crews. They moved as one, a single living organism, guided by hope and unbreakable resolve. On the observation deck, Lieutenant Kai, young and untested, watched in awe. "Commander," he whispered, his voice trembling slightly, "they think we are weak. They do not see us as a threat." Alara's eyes blazed. "Then let them see the fire they underestimated. Today they witness not weakness, but humanity rising." Energy beams cut through space as Terran strategy met Xylar might in a deadly dance. Ships dodged, twisted, and struck back with precision. Every alien attack was met with a human answer. The Terrans relied on unpredictability, on the courage of pilots who had never faced such an enemy before, yet refused to give in. From Earth, billions of people watched the live transmissions, hearts pounding. Hope surged through every city and town. For the first time, humans understood the truth of their strength. Even against a galactic empire, courage, creativity, and unity could make the impossible possible. Alara stood at the bridge, her gaze on the battle raging in the darkness. She whispered to herself, "We are more than they imagined. We are Terrans, and we will rise." The stars above seemed colder than ever, yet for the first time, they reflected the burning determination of humanity. The galaxy had assumed Earthlings were fragile, predictable, and insignificant. They were about to learn the cost of underestimating a species that refused to surrender. This was only the beginning. The Xylars had expected obedience, but instead they faced defiance, resilience, and the fiery heart of Terrans. And humanity had only just begun to show the galaxy what it truly meant to rise. The void of space trembled with energy as the Terran fleet faced the Xylar armada. Commander Alara's heart pounded, but her voice remained steady over the comms. "Positions, prepare to engage." The first blasts tore through the darkness. Xylar energy beams lanced toward the Resolute and its companions, capable of disintegrating hulls in seconds. Yet the Terrans had prepared for this. Swift maneuvers, decoy drones, and adaptive shields absorbed and redirected the deadly fire. Humanity was small, but it was fast, smart, and unyielding. Lieutenant Kai gripped his controls, every nerve alert. His fingers danced across the console as his fighter weaved between enemy blasts. He had trained for months for this moment, yet the reality of facing a galactic empire made his chest tighten. He glanced at the holographic map of the battlefield, noting the coordinated movements of the Xylar ships. "They are strong," he whispered, "but we are faster. We can outsmart them." Alara's voice cut through the tension like a blade. "Focus, everyone. Every human on these ships is the hope of our people. Fight not just for survival, but for the pride of Terrans everywhere. The Terran fleet responded with precision. Energy torpedoes streaked through the black, striking enemy ships with controlled fury. Some Xylar vessels exploded in showers of molten metal, sending the rest into temporary disarray. For the first time, the aliens hesitated, their calculated confidence shaken by human unpredictability. In the bridge of the Resolute, Ilara felt a mix of fear and pride. She knew the cost of this battle. Every victory came with loss. But she also saw the courage shining in the faces of her crew. Young pilots, engineers, and officers, all risking everything for a species that had been underestimated for centuries. Suddenly, an enormous Xylar warship broke through the Terran line, its weapons glowing brighter than the rest. Alarms blared, and the fleet scattered to avoid a catastrophic strike. "All units, focus fire, do not let it reach the Resolute," Ilara commanded. Lieutenant Kai's fighter surged forward, weaving through debris and laser fire. He felt his pulse racing, but fear did not control him. He remembered the faces of the people on Earth, the millions watching, hoping, believing. "I will not fail," he muttered. With a precise shot, his torpedo hit the warship's shield generator, causing a cascade of explosions. The massive ship faltered, giving the Terrans a chance to strike again. The battle raged for hours. Starships danced through destruction, some destroyed, others barely holding together. Yet every Terran ship fought with determination that the Xylars could not calculate. For them, strength was measured in firepower and fleet size. For humans, strength was courage, strategy, and heart. Amid the chaos, Ilara received a transmission from Earth. Families, children, and leaders watched the battle live, sending messages of hope and solidarity. "We are proud of you," the voice said. "You are not alone." Tears filled Ilara's eyes. The fight was not only in space, it was for every soul on her planet. By the end of the first clash, the Terrans had won a small but decisive victory. Several Xylar ships had been destroyed or forced to retreat. The Resolute and its fleet survived, battered but unbroken. Ilara stood on the bridge, her gaze fixed on the stars. The Xylars had expected submission. Instead, they had witnessed humanity's first taste of defiance in a battle that would echo across the galaxy. "This is only the beginning," she whispered, her voice full of fire. "We will rise no matter the cost." The stars above seemed to hum with possibility. Humanity had shown the galaxy that fear could not define them. Against all odds, Terrans had fought, survived, and inspired hope where there was none. Battle was just the start, but the story of humanity's rise had begun. The stars above had grown colder, yet the fire in the hearts of Terrans burned brighter than ever. The first clash had been won, but Commander Ilara knew this was only the beginning. The Xylars were regrouping, their pride wounded by humanity's unexpected resistance. And when they returned, they would strike harder. On the bridge of the Resolute, alarms blared. Sensors detected a massive Xylar fleet emerging from hyperspace, faster and larger than the first wave. Ilara's chest tightened. The humans were outnumbered 10-1. Every crew member felt the weight of the moment, yet none faltered. Courage had become their weapon. Lieutenant Kai turned to Ilara, his eyes wide but determined. "Commander, they're stronger than before. How do we fight this?" Ilara's gaze hardened. "We fight smarter, we fight together. Every human on these ships is part of something greater than themselves. Today we show the galaxy why Terrans are not to be underestimated." The fleet surged forward, engines flaring, energy shields glowing against the dark backdrop of space. Xylar cruisers fired relentlessly, tearing apart empty starfields with precision. The Terran ships twisted and darted, avoiding destruction by mere meters. Every maneuver required coordination, courage, and the intuition that only humans seem to possess. On the observation deck, Captain Mira, Ilara's second-in-command, whispered, "They think fear will break us. They don't know us at all." Her words carried weight. Each Terran soldier, pilot, and engineer understood that this was not just a battle of ships, it was a battle of spirit. Humanity itself was on the line. The first human counterattack came from unexpected angles. Small, agile fighters struck the Xylar supply ships, crippling their ability to reinforce the main fleet. Torpedo barrages struck cruisers from blind spots the aliens had never considered. It was a brutal dance of survival, where brains often mattered more than weapons. But the Xylars were relentless. One massive warship, thrice the size of the Resolute, charged directly toward the Terran flagship. Shields flickered under the onslaught of its energy beams. Explosions rocked the bridge, throwing crew members off balance. Yet Ilara stood firm, issuing orders with calm precision. Focus fire on the bow thrusters. Cut their maneuverability, she commanded. Lieutenant Kai maneuvered his fighter through a hail of enemy fire, heart racing, hands steady. He launched a torpedo that found its mark. The colossal warship shuddered, slowed, and drifted helplessly. Cheers erupted across the Terran fleet. HFY. For a moment, humanity had struck a blow against impossible odds. Still, the victory was bittersweet. Reports came of ships lost, pilots gone, and engineers sacrificed to save their comrades. Ilara's heart ached for every life lost. Yet she knew this pain would fuel humanity's resolve. Each loss was a testament to courage. Each survival was proof of their resilience. In the quiet moments between battles, Ilara looked at the stars and whispered, "We do not fight for fear of death. We fight for the chance to rise, to be seen, to show that Terrans are stronger than the universe believes." From Earth, billions watched, holding their breath. Messages of hope poured in. Children drew pictures of starships, parents wrote letters of encouragement, and leaders sent words of pride. Humanity was united, and this unity gave the fleet a power the Xylars could not measure. By the end of the encounter, the Terrans had survived another deadly wave. The Xylars retreated temporarily, shocked by human ingenuity and courage. But everyone aboard the Resolute knew the war was far from over. Ilara stood tall on the bridge, her eyes glowing with determination. "They expected submission," she said softly. "But they witnessed humanity's heart. We may be small, but our spirit is endless, and this is only the beginning of our rise." The stars above, once silent and indifferent, now reflected the fire of Terran defiance. Humanity had proven that even against a superior empire, courage, strategy, and unity could turn the tide. The galaxy would remember this day, the day Terrans began to rise against impossible odds. The galaxy had grown quiet, but only for a moment. Commander Ilara knew the Xylars were not defeated. They were calculating, planning, waiting for the perfect strike. The Terran fleet was battered but alive. Every ship, every crew member, carried the scars of the first battles. Yet their hearts burned brighter than ever. Humanity was rising, and they would not falter. On the bridge of the Resolute, alarms suddenly screamed. Sensors detected a massive Xylar battle group emerging from the darkness, larger and more powerful than anything the Terrans had faced before. Hundreds of ships, bristling with weapons capable of annihilating planets, advanced with terrifying speed. Lieutenant Kai's hands shook slightly as he gripped his controls. "Commander, they've brought everything," he whispered, awe and fear mingling in his voice. Ilara's eyes hardened. "Then we fight with everything we have. Humanity does not bow. We endure, we adapt, and we rise." The fleet surged forward, dodging torrents of energy fire. Explosions lit up the void, tearing through starships. Yet every Terran crew moved with precision. They had learned, adapted, and survived. They were small, but they were relentless. Every pilot, every engineer, every soldier knew that this battle was more than survival. It was proof that humans could stand against the galaxy's greatest empire. The Xylars unleashed their deadliest weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of destroying entire fleets. Its beam scorched the stars, cutting through Terran shields with terrifying ease. Panic threatened to rise, but Alara's voice rang out, calm and commanding. "Focus fire on their support ships. Disable their cannon before it wipes us out." Kai's fighter raced toward the cannon, weaving between blasts and debris. His heart pounded, but he felt no fear, only determination. "I will not let them win," he whispered. A torpedo launched, striking the cannon's support module. Sparks flew and the massive weapon shuddered, temporarily disabled. The fleet seized the opportunity, striking with everything they had. Even as they fought, losses mounted. Ships exploded. In fiery showers, brave pilots and crews sacrificed to hold the line. Alara's chest ached with grief, yet she could not falter. Every loss strengthened her resolve. Every victory, no matter how small, proved humanity's worth. Amid the chaos, human ingenuity shone brightest. Engineers aboard the Resolute rerouted power, creating improvised shields and energy bursts. Pilots used daring maneuvers to outflank larger ships. Terrans turned desperation into strategy, bravery into power. In the observation deck, Kai saw the faces of his fellow pilots, young and old, full of courage and determination. "We are more than they expected," he thought. "We are humans. And humans do not give up." The Xylars for the first time hesitated. Their fleet, immense and terrifying, could not predict humanity's tactics, courage, or adaptability. Terrans fought not because they had the largest weapons, but because they had something no empire could measure: heart. Hours passed like an eternity, yet slowly, the tide began to turn. The Terran fleet, battered but unbroken, pushed back the Xylars. One by one, enemy ships faltered under human strategy and sheer determination. The massive energy cannon was destroyed, and the remaining Xylars retreated, their pride wounded. Alara stood on the bridge, staring at the wreckage scattered across the stars. Her hands trembled, but her heart soared. "They expected submission," she whispered, tears glistening in her eyes. "But they saw humanity's spirit. We are small, but our courage is endless, and we will rise, no matter the odds." From Earth, billions cheered as live transmissions showed Terrans holding their ground against a superior force. Humanity had survived the greatest challenge yet, proving that even in the face of overwhelming power they could endure, adapt, and rise. The stars, once silent and indifferent, now reflected the courage of humanity. The galaxy had underestimated Earthlings, but the fire of Terrans could not be extinguished. This was only the beginning of a story that would echo across the cosmos. The story of humans who refused to submit. The battle had shifted. For the first time, the Terran fleet was no longer simply defending. They were striking. Commander Alara stood on the bridge of the Resolute, eyes blazing with determination. The Xylars had underestimated humans from the very beginning. They expected submission, obedience, fear. Instead, they faced a species that refused to bow. "Target their command ships," Alara commanded. "We hit their leaders and we show them that humans do not tremble before power." Lieutenant Kai's fighter surged forward, weaving between massive cruisers and bursts of enemy fire. He felt adrenaline and fear mix into focus. Every maneuver, every shot was a statement. Humanity was here to fight, and they would not stop. The Terrans used every advantage they had learned from previous encounters. Agile fighters struck from blind angles. Torpedoes crippled supply lines. Engineers aboard the Resolute sent pulses of energy that interfered with Xylar sensors, making their ships sluggish and confused. The humans were small in number, but their spirit gave them a power the Xylars could not calculate. On the observation deck, Captain Mira watched the unfolding chaos with pride. "They thought we would fall. They did not know the fire within us," she whispered. Every pilot and crew member understood that this fight was more than survival. It was proof that humans could rise, even against the mightiest empire in the galaxy. The first Xylar command cruiser was struck by a coordinated barrage. Explosions ripped through its hull, and energy shields flickered before collapsing. The alien fleet hesitated, unprepared for this level of human coordination. Panic rippled through their ranks, an unfamiliar feeling to a species that had never faced true resistance. Ilara's heart raced as she directed the fleet with precision. Push forward. Protect the fighters. Strike again. Every order was met with swift obedience. The Terrans were united, a single organism fueled by hope, courage, and an unbreakable will. Lieutenant Kai executed a daring move, flying between two massive cruisers, narrowly avoiding beams of energy. His torpedo struck the second command ship, sending it spinning into the void. For a moment, the bridge erupted in cheers, though they were quickly sobered by the knowledge of the lives lost in the fight. Courage always carried a cost. The humans were relentless. They adapted quickly, using the terrain of asteroid fields, debris, and the chaos of battle to their advantage. The Xylars had never faced opponents who could think, act, and feel so differently. Humans were unpredictable, resilient, and daring. They struck fear into an empire that had known only obedience and conquest. From Earth, billions watched as transmissions showed humans taking the offensive. Children's faces lit up with wonder, parents clenched fists in pride, and leaders spoke words of encouragement. Humanity was united across every planet and colony. The fleet was not alone. It carried the hopes of an entire species. Hours passed, like minutes as the battle raged. The Terran struck with precision, crippling key Xylar vessels and forcing others into retreat. Their losses were heavy, but their spirit was unbroken. For every ship destroyed, the humans grew stronger in resolve. They were no longer the hunted. They were hunters, proving that even against a superior force, courage and ingenuity could prevail. As the last Xylar command ship exploded, silence fell across the battlefield. The Terran fleet, battered and worn, floated among the debris, victorious but humbled. Ilara stood at the bridge, her eyes shining with both pride and sorrow. They expected fear. They expected obedience. They witnessed humanity's strength, and this is only the beginning. The stars above reflected the fire of Terrans, a signal to the galaxy that humans were rising. No longer would Earthlings be underestimated, dismissed, or ignored. The Empire had learned a harsh lesson. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was not submissive. Humanity was a force the galaxy had never truly seen before, and humanity would continue to rise. The Terran fleet sailed deeper into Xylar, space. Victory had given them confidence, but Commander Ilara knew the greatest challenge was yet to come. The Xylars would not forgive the loss of their command ships. Now, humanity would face the heart of their empire, where every ship, every weapon, and every soldier was designed to destroy intruders. Ilara stood on the bridge of the Resolute, staring at the vast expanse ahead. Massive star fortresses floated in orbit around a distant planet, bristling with energy weapons and shield generators. Each one represented a nightmare for any species daring to defy the Empire, but Terrans were no ordinary species. Lieutenant Kai tightened his grip on the controls of his fighter. He glanced at the young pilots around him, each one showing determination despite fear. We may be small, he thought, but we are relentless. We fight because we must. We fight because we are Terrans. The first assault began with careful precision. The Terrans used asteroid fields and debris to hide their approach. Tiny fighters darted between massive fortresses, launching torpedoes at shield generators. Energy beams erupted from the Xylar guns, tearing chunks from the rocks around them, yet the humans moved like shadows, unpredictable and relentless. On the Resolute, engineers rerouted energy to shields, strengthening weak points and boosting weapons. Captain Mira's voice rang clear over the comms. "Keep moving, focus fire, we strike as one." Every Terran crew understood that success relied on unity, courage, and creative thinking. The Xylars responded with overwhelming force. Energy barrages, fighter swarms, and massive warships pushed the Terrans back. Explosions tore through space as ships collided or were destroyed. Yet for every loss, humanity adapted. One small Terran fighter found a blind spot in a fortress's defenses and fired a torpedo that disabled its main cannon. Cheers erupted across the fleet, though sorrow lingered for those who had fallen. Ilara's heart was heavy with both grief and pride. She whispered to herself, "Every loss is pain, but every victory proves we are more than they expected. We are Terrans, and we will rise, no matter the cost." The Terrans pushed forward, fighting through wave after wave of enemies. Kai executed daring maneuvers, dodging laser fire and striking key targets. He felt fear at the edge of every decision, yet his determination never wavered. He was not fighting alone. Every human around him shared the same resolve, a fire that could not be extinguished. As the fleet approached the heart of the Xylar Empire, the stakes grew higher. Planetary defenses activated, sending beams of energy that could melt entire cruisers. Yet Terrans continued, striking with precision and courage. Each destroyed turret, each disabled ship, was a testament to their willpower. They were not merely surviving, they were challenging the mightiest empire in the galaxy and winning. From Earth, billions watched in awe and hope. People held their breath as Terran transmissions showed the fleet pressing forward, facing impossible odds with courage and unity. Humanity had become a beacon of defiance, inspiring hope across countless worlds. Finally, after relentless struggle, the Terrans reached the inner orbit of the Xylar capital planet. The planet's shields were immense, its defenses formidable, but the fleet had learned, adapted, and endured. Humanity's presence alone was a shock to the Empire. A species once thought insignificant had penetrated the very heart of Xylar power. Ilara stood tall on the bridge, her eyes bright with emotion. "They expected obedience," she whispered. "But they have seen our courage. They have seen our heart. Humanity is rising, and no force in the galaxy can stop us." The stars around the capital glimmered with the fires of battle, reflecting the determination of a species that refused to be crushed. Humanity was no longer simply defending itself. They were challenging an empire, proving that courage, unity, and ingenuity could overcome even the greatest power in the galaxy. And in the hearts of every Terran, the belief grew stronger. Victory was possible, and humanity's rise had only just begun. The heart of the Xylar Empire loomed before the Terran fleet, a massive fortress planet bristling with weapons and shields. Commander Ilara stood on the bridge of the Resolute, feeling the weight of the moment. Every human life, every victory, and every sacrifice had led to this. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, but today they would witness the rise of Terran strength. Lieutenant Kai tightened his grip on the controls of his fighter. His heart pounded with fear and excitement. Around him, young pilots, some barely trained, mirrored the same determination. They were small, fragile compared to the massive Xylar fleet, but they carried something the Empire could never measure: courage, ingenuity, and an unbreakable will. "Prepare for final assault," Ilara commanded. Her voice was steady, but every word carried the fire of countless Terrans who had fought and fallen. "Strike together. Hit their command, their shields, their pride. Show them what humanity is." The fleet moved as one, weaving through enemy fire with daring maneuvers. Explosions lit the stars, tearing apart Xylar warships and star fortresses. Terrans fought with precision, hitting blind spots and exploiting weaknesses. Every attack, every defensive move, was born of human ingenuity. For the first time, the Xylars realized that intelligence, courage, and unity could rival sheer size and power. Kai fired a torpedo that found the heart of a massive Xylar command cruiser. It shuddered violently before exploding into fragments that glimmered across the void. Around him, cheers erupted from the fleet, but the cost was visible. Many ships had been lost, and brave pilots had fallen. Yet their courage inspired the survivors to fight harder. Ilara's eyes swept across the battle. She saw young soldiers, barely adults, risking everything to protect the fleet. Engineers working tirelessly to reroute energy, keeping shields alive and weapons ready. Every human contributed not for glory but for survival, for pride, for the hope of Earth. The Xylars tried to regroup, unleashing their deadliest weapons. Beams of energy tore through space, threatening to destroy the fleet in moments. But Terrans adapted. Fighters lured enemies into traps. Torpedoes struck from unseen angles, and the Resolute fired pulse bursts that disrupted the alien shields. Humanity's unity became its greatest weapon. Finally, the Terrans reached the Xylar capital's central command station. Its shields flickered under relentless fire. Explosions shook the station as the fleet struck with coordinated fury. The massive planet fortress quaked, and the alien command faltered. For the first time, the Xylars understood. Humanity could not be crushed. Humanity would not bow. Alara's voice rang out over the fleet. Today, they witness what they never expected. Today, humanity rises. A final, massive explosion rocked the enemy fortress. Smoke and debris scattered across the void. The Xylar fleet broke apart, retreating in shock and fear. Humanity had struck the heart of the Empire and survived. They had endured the impossible and emerged victorious, not just with ships but with spirit and heart intact. From Earth, billions erupted in celebration. The messages poured in: hope, pride, and unity. Humanity had proven it could rise against overwhelming odds. No longer would Earthlings be dismissed, underestimated, or ignored. Across the galaxy, a new reputation was born: the rise of Terran strength. Alara stood on the bridge, looking at the stars, tears in her eyes. They expected submission, but they saw something else. They saw courage. They saw unity. They saw humanity at its finest, and the galaxy will never forget it. Kai hovered near the observation deck, watching the aftermath. "We did it," he whispered. "We really did it." Alara placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is only the beginning, Lieutenant. Humanity has risen, and now, the galaxy must recognize us." The stars above, once silent and cold, now reflected the fire of humanity. The Xylars had learned a lesson they would never forget. Underestimating humans was a mistake no empire could survive. Terrans had risen, stronger than ever, and their story would echo across the cosmos forever. Humanity had fought, endured, and triumphed. The rise of Terran strength was not just a victory, it was a promise that wherever humans went, hope, courage, and defiance would follow. And the galaxy had witnessed it all.